Welcome again to the S.E.M podcast. I'm your solo host today, Zach Hewlett, and today we're joined by our friend Matthew Dearnley. Matthew, so good to have you. What part of the world are you calling from today?
So I'm calling from Huddersfield, which is in Yorkshire, in England.
Very nice.
So
We had quite a few missionaries from Huddersfield in the Scotland Edinburgh Mission, when at least when I was there. So, well, fun.
Oh,
Well,
one of them was the bishop of the Huddersfield First Ward not long ago. So,
we'll get to that when we touch base on what you've been up to since the mission. As far as format, again, we'll talk pre-mission and your decision to go and your reaction of getting called to Scotland. Then we'll talk life since you've been home, and then we'll go through areas, companions, and favorite memories of Scotland. So I'll turn the time to you, Matthew.
yeah. So I grew up in the church. Both my mother and father were both members. Their parents were converts. In fact, my dad's parents were actually converts in Galashiels in Scotland.
Is that right? Wow.
Yeah. So my granddad was baptized in Galashiels, where my dad was born, and 6 months after he was baptized, they created the Galashiels branch, and he was called as the branch president.
Was that right? Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Cool.
So the Dearnleys was like the start of the Galashiels branch.
That's amazing. Love that.
At the time. So yeah. But yeah, so I grew up in the church. My dad was less active. He was less active for years and years. And my brother, at the time, my older brother, he'd gone less active. So there was me and my mother attending regularly. And I did school, I did education, hated school, I really hated education. So I kind of went straight into work after leaving school. And it was working at a leisure centre, like you do casual hours, and it was a bit like, do I want to continue doing this for the rest of my life, or do I want to do something? And I'd always talked about mission. It was one of those things back in that day that it was like you went on a mission when you turned 19.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided I had nothing much better to do at the time, so I kind of put my papers in, and yeah, so I put my papers in, came back at the end of October, got my call, opened the letter, and yeah, it said Scotland, Edinburgh, called to serve. So I was excited, to be fair. Obviously, knowing the fact that that's where my grandparents were converts, and
Yeah.
And the chance I had to go back and hopefully serve in the Galashiels area.
Yeah, that's cool.
So yeah, so I was really looking forward to it. I actually left on the 27th of December. So
Okay.
the day after Boxing Day. So literally did Christmas, did Boxing Day, straight into the MTC at Preston.
So what year was that?
So that was 2000.
2000.
Yeah.
Okay. So December of 2000. Did you get home before Christmas in 2002?
No, I got home New Year's Day 2003.
Oh, really?
So yeah. New Year's Day, we came home. My parents, obviously living in the north of England, they were able to come and collect me. So they enjoyed themselves having Hogmanay in Edinburgh, and then picked me up the following day. So
that's pretty cool. That's amazing. So you get home New Year's Day of 2003. I mean, like you said, that's been a minute. Tell us what you've been up to life-wise since that moment in time.
So like I said, I didn't really know what I was doing before my mission. Went on my mission. obviously served and then came back and was like, right, well, I'm going to have to actually decide what I want to do now.
Right.
So, so I'd like met with the, I mean, we're lucky in church because we've got so many programs, haven't we? And I was able to meet with self-reliance employment specialists at church and identify what I might actually enjoy and want to do. So it came up as recommendations. I really enjoyed interacting with people, getting to see change in people, which was the best part of the mission. And so it was coming up as like youth work, residential work, things like that. I wasn't academic, so I was really wanting to go back to college or university or anything. And I ended up working in a warehouse. So
Oh, there you go.
I ended up working in the warehouse, which was the bishop's company. So it was like one of those things. It was like, I need a job. What am I going to do?
Yeah.
He gave me a job, and I was there for maybe a year. Yeah, it'd have been about a year I was there. Met my wife at the time. A few months after I came back on my mission, met my wife Amanda, who she's actually from Derry in Northern Ireland.
Oh, nice.
But she was over in Huddersfield at the university. So there was a house in Huddersfield that had a lot of church members who would come over for university or were staying there from all over.
Okay.
Go to Huddersfield Uni. So, and a couple of my friends were dating other girls in that house. So kind of got to know people in that house. I met my wife there. And yeah, so we met in like the March time, and we were engaged by May.
Okay. Wow. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
When you know, right?
Yeah. So, well, it's a funny one because we got engaged the same day that my wife actually got her mission call.
Oh, is that
So, and guess where she got?
where?
Scotland, Edinburgh Mission.
She did.
She did. I mean, at the time, we discussed it, we talked about it, and we took the decision that we were ready to get married. So
Yeah.
so she kind of gave back word, and we ended up, getting married instead.
Yeah.
But
That's
it was funny because we went up for her birthday at the end of May. We went up for the weekend to Edinburgh, and we went and saw President Sister Wilkinson, and they had a picture of her up on the wall, ready for her to come to the mission.
Oh my gosh!
And Sister Wilkinson was really excited because she was looking forward to her first ever Irish missionary coming over. Obviously, at the time, it wasn't the Scotland Island mission; it was just Edinburgh. So, for us to kind of turn around and tell them, actually, she's not coming because we're getting married. So yeah.
So she formally told them, "Oh, just take that picture down. I'm not coming."
Yeah, pretty much.
Wow. How about that?
Yeah.
Cool.
I don't know if she regrets it now. She probably thinks she wished that she'd have gone there instead of getting married to me. So
just have her listen to the podcast and all the stories of what the Scotland Edinburgh Mission has been, and she'd probably think otherwise. She'll be happy that she stuck around with you.
Well, yeah, I'll have to get her to experience that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, so we got married, and then a year later, I got taken in. Well, not even a year later, I got taken into the office at work, and my bishop at the time, who was also my boss, kind of turned around and said, you're not very good at this job, are you? You're not. It's not really what you want to do, is it? And I was like, no, not really. So, so at that point, I decided to really start looking at what I wanted to do. So I ended up looking at youth work and residential work for working with teenagers, juveniles, and I ended up getting a job in youth justice. So
Nice.
it's like probation, but under 18s, so 10 to 18-year-olds. And I've been there ever since. So I've kind of worked my way up, and
Good for you.
now still there. 20 years. It'll be 20 years in May. Oh, it'll be 20 years this month. I'll have been there. So
That's awesome. Congratulations.
so I love it working with Neds. That's that's my job, working with Neds. So
Yeah, they're called something else in England, though, right? Isn't it
yeah, we
chav?
call them chavs. So yeah,
Good. I'm up on my
yeah,
lingo. That's great.
yeah.
Do you
Essentially,
have a specific like a school that you oversee, or is it just coming down from the court system?
no. So I work. So my job is we will get referrals in through the courts and through the police.
Okay.
So we will get young people that are subject to court orders because they've committed crime,
Yeah.
and they have to do like work a certain amount of months and maybe years with us.
Wow.
Some will go to custody, and we'll work with them whilst they're in custody, and then when they're out on what's called license. And then we'll work with young people that don't quite hit the criteria to go to court. So we'll try and divert them. So they've committed an offence, but instead of sending them to court and giving them a criminal record, we'll do some work with them to stop it getting that far.
That's awesome. Very cool.
So yeah. So hopefully it works. Hopefully they listen. I tell you, I mean, the skills and the lessons that I learned as a missionary are so valuable when it comes to engagement of children, young people, and families. And that's probably why I've done so well at it, and why it's gone so well.
That's great.
Because of those skills, really.
That's fantastic. I love to hear that.
Yeah.
And tell us more. Anything with regards to family? You have kids?
Yeah. So I've got my eldest, Finley. He's 16 now, so just leaving high school here in England. They finished, so he's in the middle of his exams at the minute.
Okay.
And then I've got my daughter who is 13. So yeah, they both take after me in terms of they're not the most academic, but what they probably don't take after me in terms of they're very sporty, athletic. They're both into the sport. My son plays rugby, but rugby league it is in the north of England, in Yorkshire, and in Yorkshire and Lancashire. It's mainly rugby league, so he plays that. And then my daughter, she did do taekwondo at quite a high level up until last year. She was national champion at her age and weight, and then she kind of gave it all up to do netball.
Oh, really? How about that?
Yeah. So
new challenge, I guess.
Yeah, I think it was that thing of being in a team, a bit different to being on your own.
Yeah.
When it comes to things like taekwondo, so
wow, good for them. That's great.
Yeah.
Well, good. Well, it sounds like they keep you busy and amongst all the rest that you got going on.
Oh yeah, we're out 4 or 5 times a night, a week on a weeknight, and then at the weekends, non-stop.
Well, that makes this conversation all the more meaningful, Matthew. So thank you for
Yeah.
giving us your time. Let's just jump back into the mission if you want. Start at the MTC, or you can jump straight to Scotland, whatever you choose. But let's go through areas, companions, and your memories of your mission.
Yeah, so obviously went to MTC straight after Christmas. So it was a weird time, really strange. It wasn't busy. I think there was only 4 of us in our district, and there was only 3 of us that went to Scotland.
Okay.
In fact, no, 5, 2 sisters. So there was myself, Allrad, and Jones, who all went up to Scotland.
Okay.
And then I can't, you know what? I can't remember the sisters' names. I know one of them was French, and I can't pronounce.
Sister Darlene Delaire.
Yeah, that's the one. I can't remember. I can't
Sister
pronounce the
D,
name
as she's
properly.
known.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't remember who the. I know the other sister. I knew her really well because she was hilarious, but I just cannot remember her name for the life of me.
Well, if it comes to you, you let us know.
Yeah, but yeah, because she was hilarious. But so I was actually partnering up with an elder that was going to South Africa.
Oh wow!
So another Englishman going to South Africa. So I never really kept in contact. I should have done really. But yeah, I've been a bit slack like that. But yeah, it were actually a good. I mean, it was a good group to be in because, like I said, it wasn't a large group. And there was a few going. There's quite a few going to Ireland. I think there was more going to Ireland than there was to Scotland at that time in our group. But yeah, I just remember getting into a lot of mischief in the MTC. Because who was the mission president? Who was it? Do you know the name? Who the MTC president was?
I don't, because I came out in 2005, so I'm sure it changed maybe once or twice, but by that time.
Yeah, I can't remember his name, but he was quite serious. And I was a bit of a joker anyway. I never took life too seriously. And there was a few in there who were pretty much the same. So me and Jones used to go down and sneak toast and stuff from the canteen at like late at night when we were supposed to be in bed and stuff. We used to what we did do. There was a Paul Newell. He might watch this, he might not, but he went to Ireland. And he was from Leeds, so I kind of knew him before my mission, but not close. And he brought. Have you ever seen these water balloon catapults?
Oh yeah, the big rubber bands.
Yeah. Well, he brought one of them into the MTC.
Oh, he did.
And our room was the only room where the window kind of went all the way open. So normally they'd stop like there, but the bar must have broke or something. So it used to go all the way like that.
Yeah.
So and it faced the accommodation centre at the other side of the car park.
Uh-huh.
So we used to get water balloons and launch them at the accommodation centre across the car park. When we had a bit of free time, and we used to, Paul would come in and we'd get a couple of balloons and we'd fire them, and they have a big, massive glass like doorway and everything.
Right, yeah.
So we'd aim for that, and once it hit that, it made the loudest bang. Because the balloons travel at some velocity, don't they?
It's like a large bird hitting the window.
Yeah, right? Yeah. So it made a loud bang, what have you. So we'd slam the window shut, we'd all hide, and yeah,
Jeez.
the catapult would go back into his room and in his bag and whatever. So yeah, I remember. Yeah, we got into quite a bit of mischief. I mean, we did the obvious stuff in terms of the lessons
Right.
and listened, did all the devotionals and everything, and it was all good. I mean, it was probably I'd probably been there a couple of days when I decided that, because like I say, I went on a mission because it was, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, didn't really have any goals or any ambition, and I just thought I'll go make my mum proud, given that my brother's inactive, my dad's inactive. So I didn't really have much of a testimony. I had a belief. So a few days in, I kind of had to like really find out, and
Yeah.
that's kind of when I really threw myself into the study of the Book of Mormon and started reading the Book of Mormon, because I knew if I could get a testimony of the Book of Mormon, I could get a testimony of the church and the gospel. So yeah, about a week or so in, I kind of, after reading and praying constantly, that's kind of when it hit me that it's right. Everything that I've been taught, everything I've listened to, it all felt right. So I knew at that point I wanted to serve. I wanted to go. I mean, we still carried on with the fun, but at that point, I did decide that I needed to serve the mission. So 3 weeks later, we got rushed up to Scotland, to Edinburgh. We actually flew, because believe it or not, we have quite a lot of train strikes in England.
Okay.
You've probably heard other missionaries say we had to fly because there was train strikes. So we flew up from Manchester to Edinburgh, and got greeted by the assistant. And straight from the airport, we got taken on the tour in the minivan.
Nice.
By the office elders and the APs. But yeah, one of the office elders at the time was, you've heard him you've heard his name mentioned so many times, Bryn Loganberg was one of the office elders at the time. So he was one of the office elders, driving like a madman in the van all around Edinburgh, to the castle, the disgrace and everything. So and then we ended obviously going to the mission home. And we had the evening meal with President and Sister Wilkinson. Met them, and straight away it was like, wow, this man's just, I'd not met anyone like him before, in terms of just someone that I knew was just full of the Spirit. Just an amazing bloke. So and Sister Wilkinson, she was great. She was like everyone's favorite grandma or mother. So
that's awesome.
And then to the B&B, we came in the following day, and that's when we got signed with our missionary trainers. And it was funny because, like I said, there was only 3 of us. 2 sisters and 3 elders. So when the 3 other elders walked in, and you kind of noticed them, don't you? And the one person that looked like very serious and looked very like completely different to me was Mark Grant. And he came in, and I thought, I hope I don't get him. This was after we'd been around Edinburgh for the day and done a bit of tracting and and I was thinking, he don't look like someone I'd get on with. And yeah, and then when they said, "Oh, Elder Dearnley, you're going to be serving with Elder Grant," I was like, "All right, okay, I'll look enthusiastic, I'll look happy, whatever." And I was so pleased at the end of it because
Wow.
he was such a great guy. Yeah, such an intelligent bloke as well. He was a Oxford grad.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
Politics and economics and music. He wanted to be the next, like, or a future Tory prime minister. He was, oh yeah, he was so switched on, but so clever, so intelligent as well. Yes, I served with him for the first 3 months in Edinburgh. So I was actually in the 4th branch before it was just the Edinburgh ward, because you had the Edinburgh ward and the 4th branch.
Wow, I don't think I've ever heard that on the podcast.
No,
That's amazing.
So we still met at the Edinburgh building, but the branch covered like from Leith. So everything north of the Mile, really.
Okay.
Or no, Princess Street. Everything north of Princess Street was the 4th branch.
Interesting.
So right down to like Muirhouse and that area of Edinburgh. Some of the not so pleasant parts, so like Pilton and West Pilton in Edinburgh. I don't know if you served around Edinburgh, but yeah, there was some not so pleasant places. Obviously, probably nothing compared to what was in Glasgow, but
there you go.
But yeah, definitely some interesting places where you didn't want to be tracked in at night anyway. Right. But yeah, so I serve. So we couldn't actually. Part of our area wasn't Edinburgh centre of Edinburgh.
Yeah.
So we didn't really spend much time in the centre of Edinburgh. It was kind of things. We did a few trips on P days, but during the weeks, and but we used to just walk up and down Leith Walk because that was the long main road. Yeah. So we'd start by getting a Greggs at the bottom, trapped all the way up, get a Greggs at the top.
That's great.
Then go back. So yeah. So I know Joseph, when he was talking about, he told you about a story when I was late in, didn't he? When I was in Peterhead, and that started probably at the beginning of my mission with Mark Grant, because we used to get tied up in quite deep doctrinal like debates and conversations with people that were teaching, and I lost count of the amount of times that the APs had to come round the flat in Edinburgh because we were late in all the time, like so many times. There was one time where we didn't get in till like after 11 o'clock, and it was a lady that would been he'd been teaching for a while, and we'd been going to see her like every week, and she lived in quite a nice area of Edinburgh, and she worked in a bank, so she's quite well off, and she had this cat that just hated missionaries. Like every time it saw the missionaries, it'd like get up on its hind legs and do that hissing sound, like it'd want to kill you. I mean, I'm not a fan of cats anyway, but yeah, it just hated the missionaries, and we kind of wondered why for a while, and then we found out that actually she'd actually been baptized like a few years before.
Okay.
I think 5 or 6 years got baptized and fell in love with a missionary who taught her and
Okay.
baptized her. So she got baptized because she was infatuated with a missionary rather than have any testimony or any understanding of the gospel.
Yeah.
And she told us the reason why the cat hated missionaries so much is because she when she was investigating prior to meeting the missionary that she joined the church for, the missionaries had looked after the cat for a week, and they'd obviously not treated this cat very well. Just hated missionaries.
Oh my
So
god.
we found out like late. I mean, it was like 9. I think it was 8:30, 9 o'clock, and she dropped the bombshell that she was a member. She'd been baptized, and she'd gone to the Salt Lake Temple to
Really?
get married, where she was going to get married to
Uh-huh.
this elder. So she'd gone over to America to get married and what have you, and she freaked out in the temple, and he and like ditched him at the altar kind of thing and came
Wow.
back to Scotland. So it was like one of those things like, well, we're gonna be late, but we can't just leave it like this.
Yeah, no kidding.
So what do? You can't just say, "Oh, well, it's 9 o'clock. We need to be in the flat by 9:30, and we're gonna have to go. Sorry."
See you later. Oh
Yeah,
gosh, that'd be
yeah.
terrible.
So that was one of the stories I remember from Mark. But yeah, it was great with Mark. I didn't really keep in touch after my mission with him. I wish I had because he's another one that would have been good to keep in contact with because he was from England. He was from Nuneaton,
Okay.
so the Midlands. I think he actually became a councillor for like in politics for the area where he lived. I think his dad had been a politician as well, so it kind of ran in the family. But yeah, amazing guy. And then after him, I had Ryan Morelli, who I served with for 6 weeks after, and it was a massive contrast because obviously a trainer wants to set that example, don't they, where they want to work hard, stick by the rules, and everything's straight down the line, and
Right.
and then Morella came in, and he wasn't disobedient, he wasn't a bad missionary at all, but he was more focused on the experience. Of being in Scotland and what have you. I think he'd convinced nearly every companion he got to buy a kilt because he was obsessed with. I think he had about 3 kilts or something by the end of it, and outfits, and so I think I ended up blowing a lot of my money that I'd saved on like a kilt and an outfit. But yeah, so I never really got to experience Edinburgh much in the first couple of months. But when Morella came in, we kind of experienced it a lot more, and going to the castle, and I think we went to about 5 or 6 castles, really. So yeah, and I do remember getting up at stupid o'clock in the morning to climb Arthur's Seat, Pratt's Hill, and because it was he was 18 months in, and he wanted to burn his trousers somewhere memorable. So we actually walked up at like 5 o'clock in the morning, and we walked up Arthur's Seat and set fire to his suit trousers, actually on the marker at the top of Arthur's Seat.
Oh my goodness.
And but it left like a massive black like trouser like silhouette on the rocks where it was, and I think it was there like like 3 weeks later, when we went up again, you could still see the outline of where these trousers had been burnt
Oh
on.
my gosh, that's crazy.
But yeah, so yeah, so I was there for 4.5. I think I was in Edinburgh, and then I went to Falkirk.
Okay.
So again, in the Edinburgh stake, I served most of my mission in the Edinburgh stake. To be fair, I never got to the Glasgow Triangle. Because obviously once you're in, you never get out. So I was lucky that way. So yeah, I went to Falkirk, and I was put with Adam Spencer.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if he's been mentioned much on the podcast, but
I've been in touch with him. He was supposed to come on the podcast, but had a change in his busy schedule, and so
yeah,
we'll get him on here for sure.
He's quite a busy bloke now, but yeah, he another guy from the Midlands, from the Brum, as they call it. So a big Villa fan, Aston Villa fan. So, but yeah, he's another interesting character. We had a lot of fun. Put it that way. We did do some missionary work, but yeah, more fun. I think at the time, Adam struggled with his health, but didn't really want to tell that many people. So we kind of went through a period where we spent a lot of time in the flat. But when we did go out, and when you probably never, he's probably the missionary that could talk to anybody and get them eating out of the palm of his hand the most out of all the missionaries I've met. Really, really charming with people. A massive flirt, but yeah, but great guy. But yeah, I loved being with Adam. We had a great time because we see in the district we had so you had Falkirk and then you had Grangemouth elders,
right?
So we had a couple. Bennell was the elder in Grangemouth. Don't know if is it Ryan Bennell or something.
Name sounds familiar.
But yeah, he was ace. He was a top bloke, and we used to we bought some scooters. Like at the time, they were into the like it came out where you could get those little scooters with the little wheels, like skateboard wheels, but on like a little push scooter kind of thing.
Yeah, that's right.
And because where we were at Polmont, you could go literally from our flat straight across through the graveyard, down the hill, all the way into Grangemouth. So we got these scooters, and we literally used to just go down the hill into Grangemouth, all the way to the other elder's flat, just without even having to push these push scooters because the hill was that steep going down. And yeah, so we used to play a lot. We used to play tennis, like early morning tennis, at like 6 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
When it got sunny enough and dry enough. And I remember that summer thinking, I can't be in Scotland because the weather was just incredible. It was so nice. It was red hot summer that we'd had that year. Yeah, so a lot of time mixing with them too. We did the regular football sessions on a Saturday morning, where you'd have about 30, 40 kids playing football with you. And they used to play at Grangemouth near the other elders' flat. And it was on a field right next to, I don't know if you know Grangemouth, but Grangemouth is where the oil refinery is for BP, so British Petroleum. And they'd be burning off excess fuel constantly. So there were these massive flames coming out of these chimneys constantly. And so much so that you thought that it was the sun outside your window, because these flames were there sometimes. But they had, the football fields were right next to it. So when it was hot and these flames were going off, there was just no oxygen in the air whatsoever. So you'd just be running around and you just couldn't breathe. You're trying to play football with these kids, and in your shirt still and your trousers, and you just like, oh yeah, it was hard work. It's amazing. But yeah, so yes, I served with Adam, and then he moved on, and I got Wiscombe. Bradley Wiscombe was my next companion, and he was very quiet, very mild mannered. He was completely opposite to Adam. And at first we didn't really see eye to eye. We didn't get on that well, just because I was kind of used to a bubbly chap who could talk to people and kind of express themselves really well, and yeah. So it was a bit, and plus he was an American, and I'd served with an Englishman in the MTC. I'd served with an Englishman as my first trainer, and Morelli I was only with for 6 weeks, and then served with another Englishman for another 3 months. So yeah, we had that cultural thing as well as English Americans culture thing. So, but I remember writing a couple of letters to parents and saying I'm really not getting on with my companion. He's strange compared to what I'm used to and compared to me, and kind of got a letter back saying kind of suck it up. Suck it up. And at the time I think we'd had a talk as well about from President Wilkinson at one of the conferences about love and serve your companion, love the people, love your companions and serve them. If you're not getting on with them, serve them, kind of thing. So we started to do stuff for one another and started to kind of look out for one another. So and it helped massively. And by the time I moved, we got on really well. We did some good work. Nice. So it was good. And then I got thrown right up to the north of Scotland. So I went to Thurso.
Nice.
Yeah, so I went to Thurso for the winter. So I arrived in Thurso in the September, end of September, and was there until the March, so the darkest months of the year up in Thurso. So I went to serve with Elder Brewerton. Is it Lance Brewerton, I think? It might be Lance Brewerton.
You said Burton?
Brewerton, yeah.
Let's see if I can find him on my list.
Yeah.
I don't have a Burton on there.
Brewerton.
Brewerton. Oh,
Yeah,
is it Greg?
Greg Brewerton. Yeah, Greg, not Lance.
Thank you for clarifying that, Matthew.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. So yeah, and again, he was another American. I don't think he was from Utah though, because yeah, I don't think he was from Utah. But yeah, so I got with Brewerton. It was strange because Thurso is so isolated, isn't it? It's just like
Yeah.
it's like even though you're not on the islands, it's like being on the islands because you're a 3-hour drive from the next missionaries. You're the church is minuscule. You've got I think we had about 20 members, and maybe you'd get 14 on a good day attending church. Yeah, maybe 3-4 families attending church.
Yeah.
But you had the members that were there were just incredible, because I think because they were such a small branch, they were so close as a unit.
Mm-hmm.
So like I'm in Huddersfield now, and our ward is, and our stake is a really strong stake for England, and a really strong ward for England. So like you'll have one calling, whereas when you're in a branch in Scotland, you've got about 4 or 5 callings,
Right?
and and cover everything. So and you don't tend to do as much together because you're a big ward. You think, oh, people have got friends within the ward. They'll communicate. They'll see each other outside of church. Whereas when you're in a branch like Thurso, and they're such a close branch, they'd meet up like literally like twice a week.
Yeah.
During the week, and do loads of activities. So and over which was great for the missionaries because you were doing stuff, even on the dark, horrible days of the weather, and you were meeting up, and they were all involved within the community as well. So they weren't just close knit in terms of the branch there, but they all had like community roles as well. So
Nice.
like the Relief Society president was part of the she used to help and run the special needs adults groups within Thurso. So as missionaries we got to do that. The Monday Club, it was called. Every Monday evening we go along to the Monday Club and help out, and they used to do dancing. So traditional Scottish dancing.
Oh,
And
wow.
they used to go to, it was at someone's house in like a garage.
Wow.
And we used to go there every week to do traditional Scottish dancing. So with all the gay gardens and such like, yeah,
That's cool.
it was strange, but it was great because you were serving. You were part of the community. You were part of Thurso. So and because it was such a small town, everyone knew who the missionaries were. They recognised you straight away, don't they? So yeah, so we were recognised, we were seen, and yeah, I remember. So getting used to it was hard at first, but you kind of settled in, and Greg kind of helped with that settling in period. I think I moved to Thurso as well because I was a driver, and obviously in an area like that, you've got a car.
Yeah.
So yeah. But I do remember that we had a couple of interesting moments with the car. We snapped the key in the lock once, and I remember we had to get it towed all the way down to Inverness from Thurso
Oh
on
my
the back of a
gosh.
wagon, just for them to repair the key in the door.
Wow.
Yeah, so went all the way down there on the back of this wagon, or in the back of this wagon, to get the key repaired for the door.
Crazy.
Yeah, and then about
Was it really chilly that day or something where it just was
uh,
busted straight off?
yeah, I think I don't know if it was I don't know if it was just rushing getting the key in, because
Is
I
that
mean
the perfect
now you
storm or
don't
something?
now you don't even need a key to open a door, do you? You just have it anywhere on your purse and the door opens, kind of
Right.
thing.
That's right.
But yeah, it was very manual back then.
Hmm.
So yes, just snapped it in. Uh, but yeah, so I remember that, and then I got a companion Holsworth. I don't know his first name either.
You said Holdsworth?
Yeah, Holsworth.
Brett.
Yeah, Brett Holsworth. Was he from Vegas? He was from Vegas, was Brett Holsworth.
Let me see.
Yeah. And
Yeah, you're right.
yeah, from Vegas. Yeah, it completely changed my perception of Vegas and the church, because it has a reputation over here. Does Vegas as the place where people go just to do stuff that you wouldn't associate with church members.
Right. That's right.
So when you hear that actually the church is massive in Vegas, you kind of think, how is that?
Yeah.
But yeah, so changed my perception of that. And what he used to tell me, he used to work at a restaurant back home, and he used to tell me how much he used to get in tips, and how in England we give 10% in England.
Hmm.
So you'll have a meal that might cost 70 quid, and you'll give £7
Right.
in a tip. And he was telling me in Vegas, no, that's like completely ridiculous. You're talking $100, $200 tips some nights, and
Yeah.
I was like, whoa.
Yeah. People tend to go there to spend money, and it's
Yeah.
like, oh, I hit the lotto tonight. Here you go. Have some extra. They just throw it out.
Yeah, mad. Yeah, he was probably earning more than probably I'm earning now, kind of thing. As a waiter in Vegas, it's just ridiculous.
But
But yeah, so we had and we also had a missionary couple that moved there.
okay.
A couple of months into me being in there, so the Graffs moved in.
Yeah.
And they were elderly couple that moved up, and they were ace. I can't remember his name, but it was Teresa. Was the sister
Lloyd.
Lloyd? Yeah, Lloyd and Teresa Graff. They were ace for the missionaries, because they just fed us. they just fed us all the time. So we never went hungry. We never went, if there was a day that we didn't have a dinner appointment, they would just phone us up, and our elders around here.
That's great.
Yeah, they used to feed us a lot. Yeah, I did get over to Orkney for a couple of days. We went over once when Stuart Rogers was the district leader up on Orkney.
Okay.
So Stuart, it's the Stuart Rogers, but then he was the second of the brothers to come up to a bit like Bryn and his brother, how
Yeah.
they both served in Scotland. Well, Stuart was the younger brother who served in Scotland. They actually both went on. So Stuart's older brother was the assistant to the president when I went out,
Okay.
and then
Interesting.
like 7 or 8 months into the mission, Stuart. So he'd gone home like literally when I think he was going home the same day that we came out, kind of thing.
Okay.
And then like a few months later, his younger brother came up and he was he became my district leader up on Orkney at the time.
Cool.
But yeah, so I got to know him quite well because he served with him in Thurso. He served round us in Aberdeen, and he also served as the assistant. So like his older brother, he became the assistant as I was leaving the mission. So when I was back in Galashiels,
Nice.
so and then he moved to Huddersfield after his
Wow.
mission because he got married to one of the other girls that was in the student house that we were talking about at the start.
Nice.
But they met in Scotland because she was also a missionary in Scotland.
Okay.
Lisa Guy.
Wow.
So they ended up getting married.
Cool.
And he moved to Huddersfield. So yeah. So bizarre. Small world is the church, isn't it?
Yes, it certainly can be. That's for sure.
Yeah. Even more so over here, I think.
Sounds like
yeah.
you need to get us in touch with them so that we could interview them both on their experience in
definitely.
Scotland. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, that would be good actually. Yeah, it would be good. Yeah, because there's been a few couples, I think, over the years.
It happens. It happens.
Yeah. I can imagine this, and because I know there's a couple in Meltham, which is part of our stake, and they both served together in Scotland as well.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Cool.
So John Fullwood and his wife both served.
That's great.
In Scotland. I think he was. I don't know if he was still out when I came out on my mission, or if he'd just gone home. But yeah, another one. So yeah, we'll have to get in touch and do a couples podcast.
Plug them in. Yes, have them go on our website on 51spylaw.com, and they can fill out a contact sheet, and we can get them on. That'd be fun.
Yeah, definitely will. So yeah, obviously served in Falkirk for 6 months. I was up there. And then went to Peterhead.
Peterhead.
Yeah, the mighty Peterhead with its many churches.
That's right.
I think it had the most Christian denominations of anywhere in Scotland.
Oh,
Per head. It was like all because of the fishing industry. So I went to serve with Rogers. Is it William Rogers? I think Will Rogers. I think it is.
Let me see.
Is it Will Rogers?
Yeah, with the D, right?
Yeah.
Will.
Yeah.
His first name was Jeff, but he must have gone by Will.
Right. But yeah. So yeah. What can I say about him? He was a different type of person than what I was used to. Put it that way. I think he was quite green when I served with him. I'd become a senior missionary up in Scotland, up in Thurso, but then moved down to Peterhead and served with Rogers, and yeah, he found. I think he found it really difficult at times, and we kind of had a bit of a. I won't say we didn't like we didn't like come to blows or anything, and we didn't come to any particular like shouting matches or arguments, but yeah, we didn't really see eye to eye, and he'd sometimes go missing, which as a missionary you can't really just wander off and disappear, and he used to get into the habit of doing that. So we used to, and if even if we were on like district or zone meetings and activities and stuff, he'd kind of just disappear, and would like spend like half an hour looking for him somewhere. But yeah, so we'd track him down. We eventually track him down and kind of explain to him that, look, you can't just wander off. You can't just do this kind of thing. But I didn't dislike the guy. I didn't have any animosity towards him or anything. We just didn't really like get on, and I think it reflected within the branch as well. So you had the ward. It was the Book and Ward, wasn't it?
Right.
Wasn't it? Even though they met at the school.
Yeah.
Don't know if they were still meeting at the school when you were out.
They did actually. Crazy
Really?
enough. They did get a building just after I'd gone home. So
it was mad because they had the land for the building.
Right. Yeah.
Like they'd had it there, right opposite the school. They had this big patch of land, and yet they'd not built the building for I don't know how long. Because I remember going back after my mission, thinking that surely they're going to be in the building now, and they were still at the school, and I was like, what's happening? Why have they not got a building by now? So yeah,
I think it's such a transitive area though, where you have lots of people that will move in for spells of time and then they'll move out because if they're involved with the oil fields or they move closer down into the city in Aberdeen or elsewhere. I mean, it tended to be that way, and I think that was part of the reason why it was like some of their numbers were fluctuating kind of up and down. And
it was. I mean, it was quite a big ward when I was there. I think we'd get like 70,
wow.
70 out.
Amazing.
On a sacrament. Up to about 70 people. Between 60 and 70 people.
Yeah. I think when I was there, it was probably between like 30 and 50, like somewhere in those days. It had gone down, but a lot older group. I mean, not a ton of young families apart from at the time the bishop.
See, there was a big mix when I was there of younger and older. They'd been there, stalwarts of the ward or branch, and became the ward. But yeah, because there was a couple of them that I remember really, really well but I can't remember the name. She was from Wigan, was his wife, and he was quite short, quite plump. They lived close to where the school was.
The Pedons.
Pedons, yes, that's it. The Pedons.
Jim Pedon.
Yeah, he was hilarious. That guy. He was probably the funniest guy I'd met in Scotland.
Oh, he's the right character for sure.
Oh, he was so funny, and because being a Leeds Rhinos rugby league fan myself, and he was a Wigan fan who was like they're like biggest rivalries in rugby league in them days. So we used to wind each other up about Leeds and Wigan, Jim, he was hilarious. He used to tell us about this time where he used to chocolate Brazil nuts. Did he ever
Yeah.
tell you about the time
Oh, yeah.
about his the chocolate Brazil nuts and the sister missionaries? It was just like that was hilarious. The fact that he'd like sit there and just suck the chocolate off and put them back in the bowl. What I mean, the sisters came in and didn't think that they were chocolate, but they just thought they were normal Brazil nuts. Like what?
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
I was a new missionary when I first met Jim, and some of the things
oh
that he'd
really?
say, I was just like,
Ah,
am I is this real life? Is
yeah.
he messing with me, right? Like I couldn't figure out what was serious or not because everything that came out of his mouth had just a twinge
Yeah,
of
yeah.
sarcasm, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely, definitely. But I think he used to love it more because, yeah, especially with the American missionaries.
Oh yeah,
'Cause
definitely.
sarcasm's a big thing in the UK,
Right.
but I don't think it's as big in the US, is it?
I
So,
mean,
so,
it
so it
can
used to
be,
be,
but we
yeah,
came into this completely
yeah, yeah,
new
exactly. So
world,
he
and we're
knew
like,
that he had you.
hang on, you kind of have to take it a little ginger initial. So yeah, it was
Yeah,
pretty funny. They definitely
yeah.
wind you up for sure.
Oh, yeah, yeah. But no, he was. I remember him being in a lesson once, and because she had brother, is it Alistair Smith? Was it?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And he was like state previous state president,
Right.
mission presidency, and so
Right.
he was quite a serious character. Was he an ex DCI thing as well in the police? So he was like
Yeah,
really
I don't
serious
remember
bloke.
exactly, but yeah.
Yeah, so he was quite serious, and then you had Jim, who just wasn't. And I think Jing used to wind him up like on purpose in priesthood lessons. Yeah, and, like, 'cause,
Oh my.
some of the stuff that he used to come out with, he was just like he's doing that just to wind him up.
Oh god,
Yeah, and
so good.
yeah, hilarious. Yeah, I think the comment was, I think we were talking about relationships and stuff, and it was all very proper. And I think James came out with, you're in love when you're in bed with your wife, and then she farts and whacks the covers.
That's so Jim. Oh my goodness.
The whole room just erupted in laughter. But yeah, classic.
Oh my gosh.
Classic Jim. Yeah,
So
he was
good.
so. Yeah, they were the one family that when I went up to visit, I went to theirs for lunch, and just to catch up. But
That's
so
awesome.
funny. But yeah, so yeah, getting to know the branch, and so I served with Rogers. It was only with him for 6 weeks, and then I got made a trainer, and I trained at the West. I think, what was it? Is it Ben? No, it's not. Is it Ben West? Oh,
There is a Ben West, yeah.
Ben West. I think his name was he was from Essex. So he was
Okay.
another Englishman. Oh no, was he? Yeah, I think it was. Or Colchester.
Yeah, you're right. Essex, Colchester, Essex. That's
yeah,
right. Yeah.
yeah, he's from down there. So yeah, so he came out, and he was another one that we just didn't see eye to eye at all. We just didn't get on. I don't know. I don't know what it was. If it was me or I think because I kind of struggled over the period with Will. So and then I got him straight after,
Mhm.
and he was he was not the most tactful, you'd say, and quite abrupt
Yeah.
in the way that he was, and would often rub people up the wrong way. Not just myself, but members and investigators and
Oh dear.
people that we were teaching at the time, and as a trainer, when I'm trying to kind of obviously find and get a teaching pool, because we didn't have much of a teaching pool when it was me and Will, so we were kind of trying to build it, and the ones that we did have didn't really welcome him. We would probably say, and we'd have to have a few chats about the way that we interact with other people, and like just courtesy stuff, like not walking into someone's room who you've never met before and turning off the TV, or without even asking, or
Oh dear. Goodness.
things like that weren't going to go down well in Scotland, especially when you're English.
Right.
So, I mean, it's hard enough as a missionary in Scotland, but when you're English and the Scottish hate the English, it can be even harder. So when you're doing stuff that it puts up an even bigger barrier, then it's not helpful.
Right.
Yeah, and so I trained, and we were only together for 6 weeks, because I remember that having to kind of have words with the mission president a couple of times, and he kind of have words with me would where he kind of he had a good way of putting it back on you.
Sure.
So it did come back on me, and we kind of had to just push on through until moves came, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So and that's when so Chris Martin, who you've
Right.
had on the podcast, it was him who kind of obviously let me know about the podcast and what have you, because so he came in, and what a contrast. Just it was a massive contrast. I mean, we went from having no dinner appointments with members because they just didn't like us. They just I thought it was me. What have you? And yeah. So Chris came in, and literally within days, we were getting like two appointments a day. We went from nothing to having getting fed. I think I put on about another stone during the period when me and Chris were together, just because I'd gone from hardly eating anything to like daily, if not twice daily appointments with the members. And that's kind of when we built the relationship with the members there, and we had a baptism there as well. Michael, who'd got baptized, and because I remember we had to go down to Edinburgh, go down to Aberdeen for the baptism and everything. So, but yeah, the Aberdeen steak was really good. Obviously, we were lucky in that we got to go down for district meetings as well, and every week, and you'd go and get your calzone for free.
Oh yes.
Every Tuesday, was it? Every Monday or Tuesday, and you go for your calzone for your lunch. So that was a good part of being in Aberdeen, and Aberdeen. I love the city of Aberdeen. It's a great city. That's probably Aberdeen and Edinburgh, probably the two favourite places in Scotland in terms of the cities. But yeah, so that was great being with him. So again, we used to drive down as well and go and play the football match on a Saturday in Aberdeen. Investing, we'd have a couple of inactive members had come with us, kind of thing, and go down and play football with us. So that was a good one. There's some really good missionaries around at the time as well. and we all got on really well as a zone. Did you ever do that thing where you all got matching zone hoodies and or zone
Yes,
t-shirts and things?
not
That
in
was like
Aberdeen.
that was a
Man,
thing that all of a sudden people started doing. And it was just like, yeah.
I look
And
back on that and I think, like, I don't know how the missionaries who pulled those things off were able to do it, because, like, I didn't know where to go, like,
yeah,
resource-wise to print something on a shirt. Like, how did they figure that out, you know?
yeah. Well, I remember in Edinburgh actually. Uh, It was me and me and Morelli went to a print shop, and we got some like t-shirts made up for P-Day,
Mhm.
and one of them was like a picture. Have you seen the? It'd be now classed as a meme, but back in the day, it was just on the ensign of the girl in the picture, and you had the if you look once, you or it's you look twice, you're not a missionary, or you look once, you're not a man. If you
Yeah.
don't, I think it's if you look twice, you're not a missionary. If you look once, or if you don't look once, you're not a man, kind of thing. And I remember getting those printed on a t-shirt
Oh my gosh, that's
back in
amazing.
Edinburgh. But yeah, but that was the day before memes, and that was a meme now. So,
Yeah. Oh my
so
gosh,
yeah,
that's hilarious.
so but yeah, so yeah, but yeah, the zone, that was a thing. The zone hoodies. So yeah, we had the Aberdeen zone hoodies that we all wore,
Nice.
and we'd do the zone activities like go down to is it Stonehaven Castle. That was not far from Aberdeen on a
Yep.
day out there, and um, I think we had. I can't remember. I think we got the train there actually. I
To
tell you
to
what,
is it Denader?
is it Denata?
The one
Which
that's,
one's?
like, it's on, like, an island in, like, on the coast, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's it.
It's a
Yeah, so
beautiful castle.
yeah, Stonehaven's further down, isn't it?
I think
Um,
so, yeah.
but yeah, Donata, yeah, beautiful, yeah, place. Uh, but yeah, and what was the one by Cruden Bay?
Slains.
Yeah, Slains. That
That
what a flip.
that place is
Did,
unbelievable.
did you ever drive up to it?
No. So,
Oh,
we heard the stories about those that crashed the car.
yeah. Well, I was one of them. Uh, I was with Elder Rogers at the time because we went. You could drive up from the village side, and it wasn't that bad. You could kind of navigate it and get up there.
Okay.
And I remember we got up there, and we got the farmer who kind of owned the land that it was on. Kind of gave us a bit of a telling off and said, "You're not allowed to drive up here. And what have you? The car park's down there," and pointed down the lane
Yeah.
that the cars are parked at the end of, that has the fence with the massive boulders in front.
That's right.
So, but we didn't know at the time that it had boulders in front. So we thought, well, that looks closer than turning around and going back. So we'll go there. So we went all that navigating these like swimming pools more than puddles.
Yeah, they were huge.
Yeah, we got all the way there to realize that the fence is blocked by these massive boulders, so we can't get out. So we thought, oh, we have to turn around and go back, and we got about halfway back, and we just got stuck in this massive puddle
Oh
that
my gosh.
literally came up to like the door sills and almost into the door, uh, the puddles. And I remember having to climb like out of the window so the water wouldn't get in through the door.
Yeah.
And we ended up having to go to the farmer to get him to pull us out with his
Jeez.
tractor, and he charged us like 150 quid to do so. So I had to make a phone call to Bank of Mum and Dad.
Yeah.
Got the car stuck and I don't want to tell the mission president. Can you send us some money? So yeah, about a week later, having to go around to the farmers and drop off this money paid to get out. But yeah,
Oh my goodness.
stuck. Yeah, that was horrible. Yeah.
That's hilarious. Yeah, again, you lot were the ones that we heard all the stories about, and so we heard the worst of them though was the one where they hit the rock and it hit the oil pan, and then the oil just kind of trickled out from under the car. And so every time we went there, all the other missionaries who hadn't heard the story were like, "Come on, let's just take the dirt track and we'll get there faster." And we're like, "No, not a chance. We're not being that story. We're not doing it again."
Well, luckily for me, there was a worse one, so that gets recalled more than the one I did. So that's
getting stuck. Nah, piece of cake. Whatever. Exactly. But having a whole load full.
I didn't wreck the car. I just got the car stuck. So the car still worked afterwards. I do remember as well running out of petrol in Cruden Bay as well.
Really?
Running out of petrol. And having to, because the garage, you remember that little tiny garage there?
Yeah, there's just the one, right?
The one pump, and it was closed and what have you. And there was a family that lived in Cruden Bay that were members, weren't they?
Yeah,
I can't remember his name.
Was it Graham Gall?
Yes, that's
his family there. Yeah.
And I remember going to him, and he knew the person whose garage it was, so he got them to open up the garage to get me some petrol.
That's amazing.
The small, the benefits of knowing everyone in the village, kind of thing. So that was positive. Yeah, but no, it's nice place though. Nice place. The golf course is one of those things that if I was into golf, I'd want to go back to that golf course because where it was and whatever. But I've tried golf, but it's not for me. But so obviously with Chris for a while, like I said, we had a really good time, and then I got moved to get to go to Galashiels.
That's so cool.
For the last 4.5 months of my mission. So I was in Peterhead for 6 months. After 6 months in Thurso, and then got to go to Galashiels. It was one of those things that I'd been pestering President Wilkinson my whole mission, saying I don't want to serve as a zone leader. If it doesn't mean I just want to serve in Galashiels, and gave him the story about my granddad and everything, and so I think I kind of had that thing at the end of my mission where he said, "Look, Elder Dearnly, we should serve in a leadership calling or whatever, but I know how much you want to go to Galashiels," and kind of. So
that's amazing.
I got to go to Galashiels, and so I served there with Elder Larson. Is it Brett Larson?
Let me check. Brett Larson. I have is it Blake?
Blake, yeah.
Blake Larson.
Yeah, Blake Larson. Yeah. I knew it began with B. Served with Blake. And I felt sorry for him because he was going to trunk me out. So he'd already been there for a moves as well with his previous companion, and he was going to be there for another 4.5 months with me. So he got to trunk me out, but but yeah, it's so good to be in Galashiels because, like I said, the history of there was only one. I think there was only one member that was still there who remembered my grandfather, and
Wow.
it was my grandfather was the one who brought him into the church. Um, so there, he'd served as the branch president like 4 or 5 times because it's such a little branch that you just got. So obviously, that was back in the 60s when my granddad was there, or 50s even.
Mhm.
60s. I think. In fact, I've got it here actually. So I've got this this thing that he put together called the brief history of the Galashiels branch.
Oh, really?
He'd wrote this like history of the Galashiels branch of this. Oh yeah, that's it. So yeah, from 1961. So it was
Wow.
established in 1961. Because they had the Hoyk branch at the time,
Mhm.
and then obviously 6 months after my grandfather's baptism, they created the Galashiels branch,
Wow.
and they opened up. They had a building. They had this building that they'd bought, and it was an old, like Victorian house, beautiful big building,
Okay.
a bit like the mission home, that kind of size house.
Nice.
In Galashiels, on its land and everything, and they spent a lot of time and effort as members converting it into a church, into a building that could be used as a church. So it had its own baptismal font and everything, and
Wow.
even my dad recalled playing there as a child and stuff, and what was there. But then the church went through a period of where they didn't want all these old buildings. They wanted church specifically built buildings.
Yeah.
So they knocked it down, and built the early like prefab churches that they built at the time, and I think they lost some membership over it because there was a lot of love for the old church building and
Yeah.
the way it was and everything. And I mean, looking back now, that wouldn't have happened with the church policies now. It wouldn't
Yeah.
have happened, but at the time, obviously, church policy was different. Um, yeah.
Wow.
So, but it was amazing because because the story about my granddad was the missionaries had been teaching my grandparents for 2 years. So they'd been
Wow.
teaching my grandparents for 2 years. My granddad was a heavy smoker and he was a mill manager. So he was a Yorkshireman who'd moved. He'd met my grandma when the war ended. He met my grandma. My grandma was from Cheshire, so she was from the other side of the country. They met at Blackpool Pier. I don't know if you know anything about
Really
Blackpool, but
interesting.
Blackpool in England, it was like, now it's like this stag and hen capital of the north of England where everyone just goes to get drunk. And whereas back then it was where a lot of people went on holiday if you
Hmm.
were English British,
Interesting.
because you didn't go abroad in them days in like the 50s.
Yeah.
So, and they met on the pier in Blackpool. They ended up getting married, and he got a job as the mill manager in Galashiels. So they moved up to Galashiels. Obviously, my dad was born there. And they'd been taught, like I said, they'd been taught for 2 years by the missionaries, and the missionaries didn't feel that they were getting they weren't getting anywhere with them really.
Sure.
And the mission president at the time told the missionaries that he was going to pull them out. He was going to pull them out of the area if they didn't have any success or any members. So they went up to the top of there's the Three Sisters, I think is just outside of Melrose. There's like 3 massive hills. They're all next to each other, and they went up there and rededicated the area and prayed for a convert, and then literally came down and went to my grandparents, and kind of just invited them to be baptized. Said, "Look, is the church true? If it's true, you're going to get baptized?" And my granddad turned around and said, "Yeah." Straight away said, "Yeah, we will."
That's amazing.
So yeah, got baptized through the temple within a month, and then called as first branch president of the Galashiels branch. So, and then a few years later, moved back down to England to take up a job opportunity in the south of England. So, before retiring back up in Yorkshire.
Wow, how cool!
So yeah, it was great because obviously the brief history that he writes, he obviously finishes off with the bit about it's gone like full circle kind of thing. So
yeah,
I think it's like in conclusion, it is exciting to complete this in a sense that the branch has now come full circle. In that the midst of the Dearnley will conclude his mission in early January 2003 and return to Huddersfield, West Yorkshire, from where his granddad lived. Came. So yeah, just what an opportunity. So I think it was, although I kind of felt sorry for Larson having trunked me out, I think given that it had that significance, we did work. We worked quite hard over those 4 months. It wasn't. I tried not to be like the typical trunky elder who was ready to go home and what have you. So yeah, we worked. I think we knocked every single door in Galashiels and every single door in Hawick over that 4.5 period.
Wow.
While I served there. But what was really annoying, because we were in the borders, and the borders covers such a massive area. I mean, it's a bigger area than what we were in Peterhead.
Yeah.
And it's and yet in Peterhead I had a car, but in Galashiels I didn't.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
So, yeah, because I think the mission must have been told that they had too many cars or something.
Okay.
They were or missionaries needed to spend more time contacting, and that contact could be done whilst on transport. Now, I think in some way, yeah, it could work in terms of, but if you're on a bus where there's only 3 other people on that entire bus, you're not going to appreciate 2 Mormon missionaries coming and sitting right next to you.
No. Oh, that gives it perspective for sure.
Oh yeah. So it was all right in your towns and your cities where the buses were mainly full and you were sat next to people, so it was a conversation starter and what have you. But when you're in the borders where you'd be travelling an hour on a bus to get from one town to another, to get from Galashiels to Hawick or Jedburgh or Kelso, yeah, it didn't really work going up and sitting next to the one other person on the bus.
Yeah, no
so,
kid.
so you used to have to plan really well. So you'd have to spend a whole day in a village
Mhm.
within the borders, and if there weren't any members there, then you were just knocking doors.
Right.
You were just chapping
Yep.
all day. Uh,
Gosh.
Yeah, so it was hard. It was hard work, but it was good. Like I said, just getting to be there really and finish my mission there as well. But yeah, it was interesting because, like I said, I got the Scotland Edinburgh Mission, um, and then my cousin, also grandson of Edward Dearnley and what have you. They're from Manchester way. He got his mission call uh, a couple of months after I'd gone out on my mission and got Durban, South Africa. And I'm dark hair, I tan, dark eyes and what have you. He's freckly, ginger, pasty white skin. so would be more suited to the Scottish weather conditions than Durban, South Africa.
Yeah.
So yeah,
He just needed some more freckles, it sounds like.
yeah. Must have been.
That's amazing.
But yeah, so yeah, really, that's my my mission.
Yeah. What an amazing journey. And I find it fascinating that like you said, you knew your family's history in Galashiels and you pushed for that throughout the entire mission to the point where President Wilkinson kind of yielded and said, "All right, that sounds like a good spot for you to be for the latter part of your mission," which is really, really cool. It's a great story.
Yeah.
Do you have any specific memories that come to mind when you think of President Sister Wilkinson as far as your interactions with them?
I mean, every interaction you had with them was just great. It was just, yeah, it was just, it was so good because like I said, my dad was less active. He'd not been active since I was, in fact, before my baptism, because it was my grandfather who baptized me.
Mhm.
So we had not really been brought up in a household where I had an adult priesthood holder.
Yeah.
Um, and so President Wilkinson was that father figure, that example, that person that you could talk to, you could go to, and he kind of put you on the straight and narrow when things were hard with difficult companionships or difficult times. He was good at the commitment part of solve your own concerns kind of thing.
Yeah.
So he'd put it back on you a lot, but you felt that he was doing that because he wanted what was best. He wanted you to learn from the experience. But yeah, really powerful. I'd say he was a preacher more than a teacher. He was powerful in terms of how he presented and how he projected things. If he spoke, you listened. Yeah, definitely
cool.
listen to that guy. And because we went to, I remember obviously, like I said, I'd gone up there after my mission with now my wife, and then we went to the reunion. So after he got released, they had a reunion in the Midlands in England for all the English or all the UK based elders. And yeah, it was great to kind of see him off and see them go. But yeah, I've not had much contact since. Like I said, I've been absolutely useless when it comes to keeping in touch with people from my mission, especially like companions and other elders. I think there's a couple that I've come across. Obviously, just being in the church in England, whatever. But
Mhm.
There's an awful lot more that it would be nice to reconnect and speak to and have share those memories and stuff. So, but yeah, but I think that's why the podcast is so great.
Yeah.
It's because you get to, even though you don't get to speak to them anymore, or see them anymore, you get to hear the stories, and you all know that you're part of something that was really special
Mhm.
in your life, and whether you're still in the church or whether you're not, or what your belief systems are now, or what's changed, there'll always be that connection,
Mhm.
regardless. And I think that's what's great about stuff like this podcast. So yeah, it's really, really
Yeah,
good.
we've definitely emphasized that as we've connected with all sorts of
Yeah,
individuals who've served in Scotland. Yes, we're not here to check in on you and make sure that you're on the straight and narrow. That doesn't matter. I mean, we've
yeah.
all lived a whole nother life since the time we
Well,
were
exactly.
teenagers in Scotland at one point, right? And so that's
Mm.
been our invitation to everyone, is that we want everyone to come on, and I get that not everyone is as open about talking about themselves, and that's fine. I
Mm.
get that, but the invitation is always open to anyone who wants to come on and share their memories, and like you said, still be able to know that they're well and that they're getting on in life, and that if there's an opportunity for some of their past companions or friends from the mission to
Mm.
reconnect with them, then we hope to be some sort of a medium between some of
Yeah,
those parties as well. So that's great.
yeah. It's like you were saying about that, in terms of there was like I said, there's companions that we didn't see eye to eye, we didn't get on, and probably that there were, whereas you don't have any ill feeling towards them now. In fact, you
Yeah.
probably love them more now,
Right.
knowing what you went through together and how you served together,
Hmm.
and just uh, thinking of like people like Will Rogers and what have you. I know it was difficult at the time, but actually, I, I won't wish him the best, and hope that he's doing really well. Hope that he's doing well and everything, and others as well that I didn't get on with so well. But yeah, it's a shared experience that you're probably not going to get again.
Oh,
Because
agreed.
if you do get the opportunity in later life to go on a mission, you're going to be going with your eternal companion probably, rather than
Yeah,
some random bloke from Utah.
that's
So,
right. Exactly.
yeah.
Well, and hopefully this will give you an opportunity, Matthew. If you haven't reconnected with some of those, try and reconnect with them. Send them our way. We certainly love referrals. So if you have the opportunity to let people know that we'd love to have them, please let them know that.
Have you managed to track down Bryn? Have you managed to get him on?
I'm still working on it,
I'll have words.
okay. The
Because
benefit the benefit I have is that his little brother Cameron was in my
yeah,
MTC group, but and Bryn and I are actually friends on Facebook, but he hasn't responded to any of my outreach. So I'll work on him for
I'll
sure.
message him. It's funny because his sister is was in our ward as
Okay.
well. So I know his sister got married to someone in our ward, and I kind of got in contact over hearing his name on the podcast and stuff. I need to connect with Bryn. He was such a good guy,
Yeah.
and such a laugh. And so I kind of friended him and everything, and he's actually he's actually sponsored me for this season's for this season, because I still play rugby league.
Okay. Nice.
So, and I play for a local team, what have you, and they were looking for player sponsors and what have you. And
Yeah.
out of the blue, Bryn's message saying, "I'll sponsor you," kind of thing. So,
That's fantastic.
yeah,
Good. Well, then you
yeah,
have that connection where you can say, "Hey, check to see that Zach's messaged you, and it'll put some onus on me to continue to check in with him, and we'll get him on. But that would be fun. He's come on, or he's come up in our conversation so many times with your generation that I think it would be one that would be very well received.
Yeah.
So
yeah, there's a few memorable missionaries from that period.
yeah.
But yeah, he's definitely one.
Is there anyone else that you wanted to call out beyond Bryn to come on the podcast?
Oh, if we can get hold of Mark Grant, it'd be a great one to have on. Because he went on to serve as an assistant later in his mission as well, and then obviously Stuart Rogers without the D.
Yeah.
Because it was always that thing. I'm not. He's Rodgers. I'm Rogers. So,
Rodgers. That's pretty good.
Yeah. So, but yeah, he'd be one as well that I'd get on, and if you can get him and his wife on, that'd be great.
Okay, that sounds good. We'll work on it.
I mean, they're over in the States now. They moved over. He went to study at BYU after they got married and everything. He got a scholarship. Don't know if it was a scholarship or something, but he went over to study over there. So
cool.
And they live in the States now.
Okay. Well, that helps me narrow it down too. That's great. Well, again, Matthew, thank you so much for taking the time to be on with us tonight. It's been really a fun adventure to listen to your experience, and obviously your connection to Scotland. That was such a big deal as you got that call. I'm sure, like you said early on in our podcast, that your reaction was a little bit polar opposite to most English missionaries in Scotland as a result of that, for sure. Yeah, but just to kind of conclude, we want to let you know how much we love you. Overall, like you've already expressed it, we're all a giant brotherhood and sisterhood in Scotland. We all experienced amazing things in that magical and crazy place, and we're so grateful that that is part of our story in life, and it continues, like you've mentioned, even in your own your job nowadays, how that has impacted how you do what you do. And I can assure you that's the same for me and many others, that you don't get doors slammed in your face all day chapping, or get harassed by Neds all day to not be able to handle yourself in other situations in life, which is great.
Yeah, definitely not. I know. But a pleasure, really. It's been a privilege and a pleasure.
Awesome.
And thank you.
Thank you again, Matthew. I'll give you a cheerio, and we'll talk more soon. All right, brother?
No problem.
All right.
Cheers.
Cheerio.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.